First in a series of training videos, this is Targeted Case Management Training 1, the Comprehensive Needs Assessment. Today we're going to be talking about, first of all, the requirements by law, along with each of 8 sections of the Comprehensive Needs Assessment. First of all, as stated by the Kentucky General Assembly, Title 907, Chapter 15, Behavioral Health, more specifically, the subsections for targeted case management, billing, and documentation and qualifications, as well as the guidelines set forth by the Centene Clinical Policy Behavioral Health Treatment Documentation Requirements, Section CP-BH 500. Needs assessments must be comprehensive, including the client's history, details of needs, support system, and resources needed, and they must document the client's actual participation in the process. From here on out, we're going to be referring to our clients as members. This is being used by most behavioral health care facilities, substance use treatment facilities, and as the guidelines by WellCare show, MCOs. The term member kind of exhibits more of a collaborative effort. And that is one thing that they are, and rightfully so, devoted to, is showing that case management and any other form of treatment that they pay for is collaborative between not just the providers, but the members as well. When you are looking at a chart for a member, documentation has to have the type of service provided, and this type of service has to be legible to another person or facility other than the author and the facility that they are working with. For instance, F2F instead of face-to-face. It has to say face-to-face. Anyone from a judge in a court of law to the member themselves, if they got a copy of their documents, should be able to look at that and say, okay, this was face-to-face. Every document should have the start and stop times of the service. The reason for the service, which in parentheses you see problem statement. Our problem statement is going to start right here in the comprehensive needs, and it's going to evolve into the care plan and then into the documentation that follows. Every service encounter must be individualized to that particular member and that specific date of service. There should be no two notes in a member's chart that are the same. There should be no two notes in two charts, no notes that are the same. Everything has to be individualized. Also, there should be results of screenings, assessments, or reassessments, especially assessments such as the comprehensive needs. Also, we must support necessity that outlines justification for the requested services, how often we do them, and the intensity of those requested services. Our first section is going to be demographics. This is basic information. Up until you get past marital status, there's, the member name, the date of birth, the date of service, the start time and the end time, the method of service, which will be like your face-to-face, etc. Their physical and mailing addresses, telephone number, their sex, their gender, and marital status. Then you'll have their referring physician, the details regarding that referral. Now, you're not going to say, of course, to the member, you're not going to say, what are the details of your referral? Of course, that is going to be something that you will put, John, you're going to use names here, was referred by Dr. Brenda Baker for targeted case management on what the date they were referred, and the reasoning for why they were referred. Is the member receiving case management from another source? If so, please list. Now, that question, you can ask a member, are you getting, do you have a case manager like at your counselor or anywhere else? And they will probably say no. And that could be because they're not aware that they have a case manager at some of these other places. So that's why as the needs assessment goes on, there's going to be more and more opportunity to start out with this basic information and then expand upon it and hopefully get more and more in depth so we can actually get the full picture of the member's situation. And then you have the question, what led the member to reach out for help? Is the member readmitting into the program? Is this an ongoing update? And of course, if it's not an ongoing update, then if it's an initial comprehensive needs assessment, you will put this is an initial comprehensive needs assessment. If it is like a yearly redo of the comprehensive needs, you will put um, this is the yearly update. Now, substance use and health history. This is part of, if you go back to the law, the legal, this is part of the history, the member's history. Do they have a history of overdose? If they do, talk about it. Um, they may, they may say, "Oh yeah, I overdosed 4 times." Whatever information they give you, put these in these questions. And yes, look, if you look at the questions, like for instance, please provide or please describe any dental issues. You're not going to say to a member, most likely, please describe any dental issues. The questions that are phrased in this assessment are not for the member. They're to guide you to ask the right questions to get the information that's needed. We're going to adjust what we ask for to the member. So when you look at a question that says, uh, has the member tried medications for opioid use disorder? That may be your opportunity to say to John, John, have you ever been on Suboxone, methadone, anything like that to treat to help you with your recovery? And he may say, well, yeah, I had methadone. I was on methadone there for about 10 years. That is when you put a quote there to answer that question, stating John stated, yes, I was on methadone for about 10 years. That's the kind of thing that makes this personalized. And and to go back to dental issues, please describe any dental issues. John, do you have any trouble, let's say, with your teeth, for instance? Well, yeah, I've got 2 teeth left, and I'd like to I'd like to get some dentures. That's what you would put as an answer to this. Member stated, yes, I've got like 2 teeth left, and I would like to get those pulled and get some dentures. That is personalization. That shows that John took part in his assessment. That's what we're aiming here for. And I know that this seems like a lot of work. I know that it seems like it's very labor intensive. And that's why it's a comprehensive needs assessment. And that's what the law wants of us, is for it to be very, very personalized as we can possibly get it, and to show the whole picture of why the MCO should let us perform these services, why they should pay us for these services. Now, recovery support. First, we start off with our SNAP, our strengths, our needs, our abilities, and our preferences. Then we move on to our treatment expectations and goals. What would he, what would our mythical client or member, John, expect out of his treatment, out of his working with us? Does he have any goals right now of his own? What are his motivations or personal values? Again, you're not going to ask, hey, what's your personal values? Your motivations, you may ask, what motivates you to be in treatment? And personal values, maybe why is recovery important to you? Get a dialogue started and find out what motivates you. That we really need to know motivation for our people. It also talks about family members who are or can be supportive of their recovery. They may be at the beginning stage of their recovery and their treatment process. If so, they may not know who their supports are yet. So let's get some names. Not just not I mean, they may say, "Oh, yeah, my friend Arthur, he's supportive of me, and I got my son John Jr. and my mama and other members." Or they may say, "I don't know anybody at all." And if so, who would you like to be supportive of your recovery? Well, I'd like my wife to support me. Also, ask about support group if they are in support groups such as Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, or Celebrate Recovery. There's no wrong answer there. We're trying to get a picture here of their environment, of their people in their environment, the situations they're in that can help be supportive. You can also say, and next we have people or groups other than family who can or will be supportive. That could be your church. That could be your guys you play cards with. That could be the guys you in your motorcycle gang. It can be any number of situations. Okay. Next, we have type of home. First of all, this can go anywhere from unhoused, homeless, to sheltered homeless, which means they're sleeping at somebody's house. They're in a place that they have no name on anything. They're staying at somebody's house. That's called sheltered homeless. It can be a double wide trailer, it can be an apartment, it can be HUD housing. Just a picture of where they reside, the details about where they reside. Then we have household members currently. If there's any housing concerns, such as electricity, water, rent, or payment for their house, internet, etc., does the member feel safe where they are? That could that could bring an answer such as, no, I feel like I'm getting ready to get evicted. Or it could bring an answer like, no, my husband's abusive, or the ceiling's getting ready to fall in. There's very different answers that can fall into that. Is the member's home environment supportive of their recovery? Now, when I'm talking about home environment, I'm talking about, for instance, a lot of our members live next door to people who sell drugs and have sold them drugs. That's not really supportive of their recovery. Or they may have people living in their home who use drugs. Or they may have people in their home who just don't support them in anything. Next, we have concerns with transportation, such as no driver's license, suspended driver's license, no vehicle, etc. Each of these questions, again, this is not going to be a form like you hand them. This is going to be something that you build on with them to get these answers. Does the member have concerns with their nutrition or food access? Do they get SNAP, TANF, SSI, Social Security Disability? Uh, do they have access to a working phone, landline, or cellular? Next, we have work and school. These questions run the gamut from their interests, skills, abilities, and disabilities related to work. Do they consider themselves, do they identify as a person with a disability? For instance, are they a quadriplegic? Are they someone who has severe vision issues, legally blind? Do they have any hearing or vision issues that might impact? Do they have any financial concerns? And this is related to work or school. Do they need work boots? Do they need scholarships for school? This is a fairly straightforward section, really. Um, and when it says, does the member have literacy concerns? Discuss. This can run anything from functionally cannot read, reads at a low level, has trouble reading, um, all the way up to has dyslexia. Now, how would you ask this question in a way that your member could respond to, but it's still a decent way to ask it? For instance, usually when I would ask someone if they have literacy concerns, instead I would say, do you have any trouble with reading or writing or any of that? Or something casual. And they will respond usually casually as well. Now, we come to legal issues. Is the member involved in any current custody or guardianship cases? This does not always mean children. It can also mean vulnerable adults in their lives or the elderly. Does the member have a history of criminal justice involvement that could influence their housing, their child custody, employment, etc.? Is there any relevant legal history for which they need services? Have they ever served in the military? Straightforward. And it brings us to mental health history. Now, when you ask, is the member currently in treatment with a mental health provider? If so, then please say who they are. Okay? If they're receiving counseling for their substance use disorders, get as much information about that as you can. These questions, again, are pretty straightforward. And finally, we get to the hard part, the summary. Well, not hard, just a little more challenging. Now, it's going to say summary. And in this section, you're going to discuss their history in a paragraph that gives details that literally sums up everything. Your first statement should be, targeted case manager met with John Doe on January 1st via face-to-face contact. Then you're going to give the details of their care, including the type and the frequency of contact, the projected length of care, and titration details. Okay, the summary is not something you had to fill out while they're in front of you, first of all, or talking with you. The titration details, projected length of care, frequency of contact, that portion is going to be dependent on a another training that you're going to watch next, which is discharge planning and titration. Okay? So that will give you your projected length of care and how care will go from point A to point B. It is a plan that is also fluid. Keep in mind, as we will go through in the training, that you are not going to be saying, okay, I've got Joe for 3 months. He's going to start tomorrow. He's going to finish everything in 3 months, and then he's done. That is not how this works. It will be okay. And last, the stage of recovery. Literally, you will have stage of recovery, colon, and then one of the following stages of recovery. You will have, you could, if they're in the beginning and they're denial they're in, or they have denial of the problem, they're not really wanting to consider change. These are the people who sometimes have been court ordered to go to a treatment program. They're in the pre-contemplation stage. Then you have the contemplation stage, which is where they know there's a problem, but they really don't feel one way or another. They're saying, well, you know, I kind of want to quit using because I'd have more money and I'd probably get custody of my kids back, but it's really hard. So that's contemplation. Then you have the preparation people who are deciding to change. They're making plans to change. Then you have the action people who are actively implementing changes. They're starting therapy. They're going to Dr. Baker's. They're doing what they need to do. Then you have the maintenance people who have been at least 6+ months in the program. They are keeping these new and good behaviors. They haven't had illicit screens for a long while. They're doing well. And then finally, you have the relapse or lapse, which is when they literally relapse, usually seen through a dirty screen. Thank you so much for your kind attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And also, write down your questions, email them to me, or we will discuss them at our meeting.